Welcome to Real Depth, the podcast exploring Christianity, philosophy, and personal growth. Join us on a journey to challenge your beliefs, uncover insight for daily life, and cultivate meaningful change. Do you ever wonder if this is real life?
Every day.
Yeah?
Every day I wonder.
Every day. Sometimes when I wake up, I don't know who I am. I don't know where I am. I have to come to terms with my own reality.
That sounds like hungover.
Well, it's been a few years since I was hungover, but usually it's because I've been in been dreaming, been in a deep sleep or dreaming or get woken up suddenly and I'm like, wait, what's happening?
Sleep paralysis.
Sleep paralysis. Get those demons off your chest, boy. I had a dream about demons the other night. It was really, really interesting. It's just stuck with me. But the main thing that stuck with me is just the people that I was looking at. I was walking around and talking to different people, and I saw them, but then I saw this image coming off of their shoulders and a separate set of shoulders, like a phantom ethereal type of thing, and a head. It was this menacing type of face, but still their face. It was very weird. I think it was demons. I don't know, I'm not sure what that might be. If there's something I need to deal with in my life, or if that's just my brain doing weird stuff, because I've been known to be a little creative. My imagination gets the better of me sometimes.
I've heard before that when dreams stick with you, it's because they're trying to tell you something. If you have a dream, you had a dream, but you can't remember anything at all. As soon as you wake up, it's gone. Then it's not something that you were supposed to pay attention to. It was just
right. Well,
it was just,
sure.
It's
that
whatever.
Would be torture if it was.
Yeah.
What was that? I mean, it's still torture.
Why would you tell me something I wouldn't remember?
It's just not fair.
But yeah, so if your dream sticks with you when you wake up and you remember all of the details and you continue on, then yeah, it's supposed to be something that
there's a lesson there.
Yeah, there's a lesson to be learned. It's something your brain was trying to tell you, or maybe a problem that you're having in your life. Trying to tell you that there is a problem, or to make you aware of one.
Maybe you're avoiding something,
or
there's something you're struggling with, or you've been.
Because I know that there's there's patterns to imagery. Dreams vary obviously in their context, but there are patterns to imagery that psychologists can use in order to determine what dreams mean.
Yeah, right.
Because a lot of people for some reason have dreams about rotting teeth, and it's supposed to mean you're concerned of your appearance or something like that, or you're self-conscious about something in your life,
concern about your physical being, or even like you said, just something. There's this overbearing,
of course,
fear.
I don't think I've ever had a dream about
teeth falling in?
About rotten teeth or something like that. But I know I've been really self-conscious throughout my life in different instances,
for sure,
and to varying degrees. But never once did I ever have a dream. Well, maybe because I was aware of it.
So do you think our dreams are part of reality, or are they just our subconscious just trying to make sense out of things that are happening in reality?
Maybe, I was going to say maybe a little bit of both, but no, I don't know. I don't know enough about dreams in order to talk about that, because I led into this. It was just something I heard once on the internet,
Disclaimer.
But then again, when you get into the topic of neurology in the brain and how things are revealed to us, how the brain makes connections for us. So when Revelation, for example, when you have that forehead slapping moment of, why didn't I think of that earlier? It's this revelation of that came from inside of you anyway. Right. So even if you were presented to something in reality, that revelation that you had still came from inside of you, meaning that you were always capable of discovering that. You already knew that.
Yeah.
But you didn't know it. Like, how could ideas and visions and things about reality and new ideas come about, if you don't know, how am I trying to say this? I don't.
It's so.
I'm losing my words.
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying though, because when, in my opinion, whatever we're experiencing, if we're struggling with something in our life, it's because there's something out of tune in our spirituality, ultimately. I mean, a lot of things that we try to fix and bandage in our life, wounds that we might have on the surface, aren't going to deal with the actual issue that's going on. Like, if I'm an alcoholic and I wake up in the morning with a terrible headache and I take some aspirin and I'm like, all right, that's good. I'm dealing with that pain that I'm having, but what caused the pain? Why am I continuing to experience these headaches every morning? There's some piece of us that's out of alignment. In that instance, it's you're drinking too much, right? Or not drinking enough water if you are drinking. A couple things could be going on there. It's dehydration for sure, but the nature of reality and our perception of what we're experiencing is constantly fluctuating and being challenged by our spirit. And if we're not in tune with where we need to be, with what we need to be doing, then we're going to have all sorts of issues coming up. For me, I get a lot of anxiety if I get too much in my head and I'm worried about what's happening or where I'm going or what am I going to say next? I don't know. But all of that is a symptom of a deeper issue of not living in your true self. For me, like if we let ourselves flow, let ourselves be led by God, He's got a plan for each of us. You know, we all have different skills and abilities, and if we let ourselves surrender to His will, He's gonna help us say and move in the direction we need to go, or at least inspire us. So there'll be some murmuring inside of us that we need to go in this direction. You just have to let it out. But the more you fight with that, the more discomfort you're going to have, and the more these different things are going to manifest in your life. I struggle a lot with really understanding what I think sometimes, because I have so many different things in my head. If I don't find a way to focus on one thing at a time, it's hard to tell where I am, you know? So I write things down, and I spend time talking, praying. That really helps. I mean, if nothing else, you can start to experience peace, especially if you have a lot of anxiety. You take it to God, you know, and He will reveal to you where you need to be, and you have to pay attention. So trying to
and I think you have to be careful with that too, because asking for signs all the time, I think, is not necessarily the way to go, because it's almost like you're trying to test God. You know, it's like, well, I'll believe your way for me if you just give me X.
Right.
And
you don't want to give God ultimatums.
Yeah, you don't want to go that route. But just trusting the process, or trusting the story. That is something that I've heard a lot recently, is to trust the story, trust the narrative. Yeah. Don't lose the narrative. And that's where, well, I don't know how to explain that further, but this is a Bible study podcast that I've been listening to.
Yeah.
But they talk about the narrative and God's story, essentially, the story for us, or the plan for us.
Right.
And to trust the plan inevitably. But
so how do you trust the plan?
How do you trust the plan? I don't know. Well, the examples are given to us throughout the Bible, in like the Old Testament, especially like in the book of Judges, where it's basically a redemption cycle of coming around, like God's people being a certain way, coming back around to God, and then ultimately sinning again and going back under, and then crying out to God for help and God helping them, because God is consistent and unbelievably patient, more patient than I think most of us could ever be.
Right.
And just keep coming back for his people. Every time he hears the cry of his children, he answers.
Yeah, right. And that's so do you think we're challenging God when we cry out to him? I guess that depending on the context.
I think it depends on the context of your cry, so to speak. Like what I'd said earlier, if you're saying like you need to give me this or I just can't go on,
right?
Then, but that's not. That's
then you're interfering. Your flesh is getting in the way because you're saying I need this. Who are you to decide what you need?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, our Father is looking out for us, and we need to ask for Him to show us what we need to see.
It's like that same concept of like when your child wants to eat ice cream every day for breakfast, and you say no. You can't have that.
But I'll make you waffles.
I'll make you waffles. But I don't want waffles. Well, this is what I had planned for you.
That's right. You got to stick to the plan now, Junior.
Got to stick with the plan. No, but yeah.
Well, so that is the reality of our individual walks. Is we have a plan. God is working on us. He's constantly calling out to us, wanting to show us, wanting to use what we have to build his kingdom.
Oh, and I think that ties into a lot of that commandment to not covet thy neighbor, because if you're constantly envious,
right, keeping up with the Joneses, man.
Yeah, if you're constantly envious of the blessings that God is giving somebody else, and you're not paying attention to the ones He's giving
right.
you,
you can't see what's in front of you, and we all have.
You're looking
blessings.
at the billionaire that's sitting right next to you, and you're thinking, well, why can't that be me?
Yeah,
like, well, maybe that wasn't what was planned for you.
Right, and that's okay. You know, we all have different ways we're going to experience life, and accepting where we're at in the moment it's called the present for a reason. You know, it's a gift from God to even be alive, and something that when I really reflect on it, and I always get a kick out of it, is the creator of the universe has a plan for me, and if I get out of the way and let him guide me, I'm going to have a great time. It's going to be an adventure. It's a mystery because I don't know. There's not like, oh, here's your roadmap for today. I think, at least part of me thinks that at some point you may start to get an inkling or foresight into certain things, like, okay, all right, I see you're taking me this way, God, or you have this. Is this where we're going? And I really feel like that's what he wants from us, you know, to treat him with respect, but to treat him as a friend, to treat him as somebody that you can talk to about anything and you can have a conversation with. And it doesn't have to be about crying out for help. It's just like praise, being thankful, but just sharing where you're at. Even, I mean, he knows, right? But do you know? Until you get that out and let it manifest through your words and your actions.
But sometimes that's the process of discovery.
Yeah.
Is you just... And yeah, that's unbelievably helpful too when you have a friend to sit and talk with.
Yeah.
God could be that friend.
Yes. And, you know, I think God is there when we're speaking with our friends, you know, where two or more are gathered in his name. There I am. There he is.
Something that we've been talking a lot about recently in our godly counsel is trying to determine what is from God and what is not.
Yes, for sure.
Like, we could try and check the boxes and do all of these types of things, but it's not always obvious.
Yeah.
It's not always there. And, you know, you might have a hard time deciding whether or not you're given a trial for God to teach you something, or if it's Satan just trying to mess up your life. And we had talked about this over the weekend quite a bit, actually, where if it's from God, then you'll know in the sense of God will always give you a way out.
Yes.
If it brings you to him.
Right.
But if it's Satan trying to meddle in your life to put things in front of you to mess you up, the pathways that Satan is going to trick you with are ones that inevitably lead you away. The ones that you don't have an out unless you sin to get there.
So we have to take captive our thoughts. Everything that comes into your mind, you don't just let it automatically manifest. Your emotions, your thoughts just come out and make you take action or speak. You got to hold on to those for a minute and think about it. Where is this coming from? Where is this going to lead me? Is this in line with God's kingdom? Is this going to further that, or is this going to lead me astray? And it's moment to moment. It's not like, well, I have this challenge in my life, and this challenge is ultimately going to make me sinful. At that moment, you only see a sinful resolution to that obstacle. It doesn't mean there's not another path, but it's just not obvious at that point. And that's another thing, being patient. God's timing is not ours. You know, when we want something to happen.
That kind of leads me back around to what we were talking about neurology in the mind, of how do you have these revelations in the first place, the forehead slapping moments. You know, how do you know the things that you don't know? But when you think them or discover them, it's like they were always there the whole time.
It's wild how that works. And sometimes they're so simple, and that always makes me brings me to a place of awe. I heard something earlier. Our good friend Carmel was telling me, it's a line from a movie. I can't remember the name of it, but at the very end of the movie, I think it may be the last line or something, one of the characters says something amazing. I can't think of it right now. It is... There's no present like time. I believe so, because typically there's no time like the present, but there's no present like time is such an interesting and powerful thing to think about, because giving somebody your time or giving something your time, what else do we have? Every other resource that's available can be manufactured. Time and love, I think, are things that you can't get more of or try to force into existence in some way. I mean, I heard recently also that I really agree with, love is not an emotion. It contains emotions, but it can't be simplified to an emotion. And that's something that we should get into at some point. Emotions. There's 8 core emotions supposedly, and I've been digging into that recently. And as far as the nature of reality, understanding your place in it, and understanding how you can help others, I heard a really great way of addressing the plight you might see somebody else inside of. And that's, instead of saying, hey, what can I do for you? How can I help you? You say, what do you need? It seems so, it's like the same thing, right?
Yeah, it seems like the same thing, but it's not.
Yeah.
Because, well, how did you put it earlier when you said this? I'm trying to think of like how I'm trying to quote you. How did you word this? Something about like asking what somebody needs is different in the sense that it kind of narrows it. Is it that it narrows it down?
Yeah, it allows someone, instead of having them to figure out how you can help them, they just express what's on their heart and what they're dealing with in that moment, and not having to put any extra pressure on them. Like, okay, how can you help me? I don't know, if I tell you this, it's going to stress you out, or if I say this, you're going to get upset, or whatever. They can just say, you know what? Right now, I need you to leave me alone for 5 minutes. Or
Yeah, what I need is for you to not help me.
right, you know, and that's okay. And we have to be, if we're going to be willing to offer our time to somebody, we, you know, it's you don't know what kind of response you're going to get, especially if you.
What you can help with requires you to have the solution, whereas what do you need is more or less open-ended. You don't. It's not the solution-based answer.
Right. Yes, you're allowing them to just give you, or you're allowing them to just talk if they need to talk, or to ask a question if they need an answer, or to just vent, or you know, it's such an amazing thing. So, what do you need? God is good.
Yes.
Prayer is powerful, and we all have the ability to call on His strength. He is our Father, after all. Thanks, Daddy.